Hi all, my name is Gaurav. So in previous videos we talked about the dependency injection and how do we do it in pure Java. Then we talked about how Juice, which is a dependency injection framework, can help in the dependency injection. In this video we'll talk about the core key component of the Google Juice framework, which are really required when we are using a Google Juice dependency injection framework. Okay, so this is the article which talks about the core component. I'll share this article as well along with the video. So let's start. So for that, I have created a scenario. So let's assume that we have an e-commerce application which is using notification service class to send the notifications. So for example, someone books the order, some where your order exactly is. So for all those notification, it is using notification service. And notification service uses the message service message service to send the notification. And what is this message service? This message service is nothing but a interface. It has a send method. Okay, now we have two services: email service, which is implementing this message service interface and overriding this send method of message service. Similarly, we have a SMS service, which is implementing this message service interface and overriding this send method. Okay, now we'll just quickly recap without Google Juice dependency injection framework how we will do that. How we will inject the dependency. Which dependency? Notification service depends on this message service. Okay, it can be email service, it can be SMS service. Okay, so how we will do that without Google Juice? So first thing, what I need to do, so this is my e-commerce app class, and inside that I'll create a notification service object. Let's say notification service ns is equal to new notification service. Now this notification service takes message service as an argument, means it can take in its constructor. What does it mean? It means while creating a notification service object, you need to pass object of the class which is implementing message service interface. So we have email service or and SMS service. Both are implementing message service. So let's say this e-commerce app wants to send the email notification. So what we will do, we will say message service ms is equal to new email service. That's it. And here we will pass the object. And then we'll say ms dot send, and here first recipient, so let's say I am saying Gaurav at email.com, and then message email service. Let's see if it is working. Yes, so it's working. Okay, so email service send message, we are printing this, we got the output. Tomorrow if I need to change this email service to SMS service, so what I'll do, I'll go here and change it to SMS service. That's it. And again I'll say run as Java application. I got this SMS sent to this. Okay, so now this time it called the SMS service send message. Okay, SMS sent to. In email service we are printing email sent to. Okay, so that is how it is working. Now same thing how we can achieve with the Google Juice framework. Okay, so Google Juice, number one, first component of Google Juice is module. Okay, what is module? So module is nothing but it's a class. Okay, you will be creating that class which will be managing the dependency, and it will extends the abstract module class, which is this abstract module class is provided by Google Juice. And in abstract module class there is a configure method, we will override this configure method. Okay, now let's see that. Okay, so I have a this. Okay, let me create in front of you service module. I created one class service module. You can put any name over here. Okay, I am creating it for message service, so I am saying service module. You can do anything like XYZ or my dependency injection module, anything. Abstract module. Okay, that's it. First step. Now, if we'll see abstract module. Abstract module is a abstract class. Okay, and here we have this configure method. Okay, we will override this configure method here. We'll say okay, protected. What is the configure method signature? Protected void configure. We'll say protected void configure. That's it. Okay. First step, we are overriding this, so we can say override. Good. So this is your first step. Now, what would be we would be writing in this configure method? So basically, when we will tell Google Juice, hey, you need to create a notification service class object. So Google Juice say, okay, I'll create. Google Juice will go into notification service class, and Google Juice will see, okay, notification service is taking a message service class as a parameter. Now Google Juice will go. So Google Juice basically needs to create an object of this message service. Now Google Juice will go to message service, and Google Juice will see that message service is the interface. So interface you cannot create object. So basically you need to tell Google Juice when I am saying message service, so which class object you need to create, whether you need to create an email service object or you need to create a SMS service object. So that's what you need to tell. So we say this this concept binding. So we will say okay, bind message service dot class dot to instance email service dot class dot to. Okay, that is how we will say. Okay, so we are telling when Google Juice, whenever you see the message service, you need to create an object of email service. So Google Juice came to know. So that's the module. Okay, now next thing we'll next is inject annotation. Okay, so I am saying inject. This is a Google Juice again annotation provided by Juice. So inject. So basically what will be happening now? So I'll reiterate. So once I'll say Google Juice, hey, you need to create a notification service class object. So Google will go to notification service class, and how Google will identify what dependency Google Juice needs to inject. With this inject annotation, it will come to know. Okay. So at constructor level, we have put this inject annotation. So Google Juice will understand, okay, the dependency what we have inside this constructor as a parameter, I need to inject all those dependency. Okay. So that's the inject annotation. So this is second step. What is the next step? Next step, I'll say juice dot create injector. Next step is we need to create an injector. This injector will be responsible to inject the dependency. And how to create injector? We'll say juice dot create injector, and we'll say, hey injector, you need to refer this service module if you have any confusion in the dependency management. So we'll say new service module. And what does it return? It returns the injector object. I'll say injector is equal to this. Okay, now I'll say this injector, hey injector, get instance of which class? Notification service class. You need to provide me the inject. Oh, sorry. Hey injector, you need to provide me instance of notification service class. What it will return? It will return a notification service class object. I'll say, let's say notification service ns, and I will come is equal to this. Okay. So now what is happening? When we say to injector, hey, you need to get instance of notification service class. So what Juice will do, Juice will go to notification service class and it will look for the injector notation. Juice found the injector notation at the constructor of class notification service. So Google Juice understood, okay, so what are the dependencies we have in constructor? So we have this dependency, message service dependency. So Google Juice now understand, okay, I need to create object of this message service before I create a object of notification service. So now Google Juice will go to message service. Now message service is interface. So Google Juice, no, we cannot create an object of interface. So now Google Juice will go to module. Which module? Injector. We have say injector. Hey, in case of any confusion, you need to look into this service module. So it will go to this service module class and it will see, okay, we have defined the binding between interface and class. Class is a concrete implementation of this interface. So we have provided that, okay, bind this message service interface with the email service class. So that is how Google will come to know, okay, it needs to create an email service class object first. Okay, so we are not explicitly creating anything. This is Google Juice will work. Okay, and how it will understand which class object it needs to create? That is how it needs to, because of this binding and inject annotation, it will understand. Okay, now I'll say ns dot send notification and I'll say Gaurav and I'll say testing notification, let's say is a message. Okay, so what will happen at this moment? When it create, Google Juice will try to create a notification service object. It will first create an email service object and it will pass it to notification service in its constructor. Okay, in its constructor. Okay, so and because we are passing the email service notification, so it will it will call the email service send method. Let's validate this. I am running this. You see, we got this email sent to Gaurav. Okay, why? Because same message we are printing here. Email sent to which recipient and what is the message. Similar response we got here. Email sent to Gaurav and this is the message. Now tomorrow if I need to change the dependency, we instead of email service we need to create an object of SMS service. How we will do that? Yeah. So tomorrow, if I need to send a SMS notification, what I'll do, I'll go into my module class and I'll say instead of email service, you need to create an object of SMS service. That is all. There is no change in the e-commerce app. If I run it now, so what will happen? It should call this SMS service send method and it should print that SMS sent to recipient. Let's try that. So it's working. Okay. So earlier, what we were when we were injecting dependency manually in e-commerce app, we need to create an object of email service or SMS service. Now we can manage this dependency from this module. Okay. Now there is one more scenario. Currently, it is a interface. Okay, so that is why dependency in the notification service is interface. So that is why we need to provide this binding into which binding? Interface binding to concrete implementation, concrete class in the module. But there might be scenarios like where your dependency is itself a concrete class. How it will work? So let's see that. Let's say in SMS service, I have another class. Let's say not SMS service. What we'll do in email service, we'll say we have a, let's say, public mailer. We have a class, pub class mailer. Okay, and here we have a public mailer constructor. Okay, purpose of this class is to provide email server, and this email service class is requires this dependency to send the email. So what I'll do, I'll say private final mailer, and I'll create a constructor public email service, and here I'll pass mailer, and I'll say this dot mailer is equal to mail. Okay, cool. Okay, now so now let's say email e-commerce application using this email service dependency. So now what will happen when we say to injector here, give me the notification service. So it will say, okay, notification service. It will try to create a notification service object. In notification service, it will see, okay, I need to inject the dependency. Which dependency? Message service dependency. It will go to message service. It will see message service interface. So it cannot create object of interface. So again, it will go to the module which we provided here in service module. It will say, okay, when someone asks message service, which class object I need to give? Email service. So it will go to email service. It will go to email service, and when it will try to create an email service object, there is one more dependency. So we can say Google, hey, Google, you need to inject this dependency as well. Okay. Now this is itself a concrete class. Object of this class can be created. So there won't be an issue. We don't need to define anything about this class in this module. Okay. So if I go here, let me print something here as well. Sys out in mailer construct. Okay. If I run this now, run a Java application, what will happen? So first it created a mailer object. That is why first line is mailer constructor. Then it called the this send notification. So exactly what happened? It went to notification service. In notification service, it says that okay, notification service Google just needs to inject the object of message service. Message service, it goes to message service. Message service is an interface. Interface object cannot be created, so it will again go to the module. How it will come to know about the module? Here we have said, we have already mentioned that this is the module you need to refer. It will go in this module. It will say, okay, whenever someone asks message service, I need to create an email service object. It will go to email service. Email service, again it says that, okay, inject. So I need to inject the mailer dependency as well. So I need to create a mailer object. It will go to mailer class. Mailer is a concrete class, and Juice can create an object of this class because it has a default constructor. So it will create an object of mailer. It will pass it to email service, and then that email service object, it will pass it to notification service, and that is how notification service object will get created. After that, it will call the send notification of notification service. Now here which send method would be called? Send method of email service would get called, and that is why we are getting an email sent to Gaurav. Okay, so we covered key component of Google Juice. What are the key component? First one is a module. Second one is the inject annotation, and third one is the injector. Okay, this injector. Okay, these are the three key components. Then we talked about the binding. In case of interface, we need to bind it to concrete class implementation. Then we talked about the dependency, which are itself concrete classes like mailer. So we don't need to do anything in the binding in configure function. Then we talked about the chaining dependency, means notification service is dependent on email service, then email service is dependent on mailer service. So we don't need to worry about that. Google Juice will take care of that. Only thing you need to just tell Google Juice, hey, you need to inject this dependency. Like here I told Google Juice, hey, you need to inject this mailer dependency by specifying this inject annotation at constructor level. Similarly, in notation service, I am saying, hey, you need to inject this dependency. So this is the power of Juice, and these are the key components. Okay, thank you.